there are three different energy flow models. First model is called as simple energy flow model, or it is called as single channel energy flow model. And another model is called as Y-shaped energy flow model. Y-shaped energy flow model, or it is also called as two-channel energy flow model. And third one is universal model. Universal model. Energy flows through different trophic levels. That is trophic level first. Trophic level first is called as producers or autotrophs, or autotrophs. This one is a trophic level first. Trophic level first is producers in any ecosystem. It may be aquatic ecosystem, for example, pond ecosystem, example of freshwater ecosystem, any ecosystem, terrestrial ecosystem, for example, forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, desert ecosystem, or artificial ecosystem, for example, cropland ecosystem. The trophic level first is producers. Trophic level second is herbivores or herbivorous animals. Herbivores or herbivorous animals. And trophic third is predators. That is predators or carnivorous animals. Those animals feed on vegetation, plant material. These animals are called as herbivorous animals. And those animals which kill and eat herbivorous animals, they are called as carnivorous animals, or they are also called as predators. Herbivorous animals are called as prey animals, and carnivorous animals are called as predatory animals. And this one is called as when producers, green plants, ground vegetation, for example grass, or foliage from trees, is eaten by animals. Those animals eat green plants or vegetation, for example grass. They are commonly called as grazing animals. Grazing animals. And these animals are herbivores. They are commonly called as herbivorous animals or herbivores. And those animals which kill and feed upon the body of herbivorous animals, they are called as predatory animals or carnivorous animals. And this sequence of eating and being eaten, it is called as a food chain. It is called as food chain. And that results in transfers of energy. from a food material. Plants, that is producers, they produce their own food material. They produce their own food material. Producers are able to produce or synthesize their own food material. That food contains different constituents. Like, for example, in case of plants, commonly called as autotrophs, the herbivores and carnivores, they are called as heterotrophs. They are called as heterotrophs. They cannot synthesize their own food material and they depend on producers. For example, herbivores depends on producers to get or obtain their food material, and carnivorous animals, they depend on herbivorous animals to obtain their food material. And during this eating process or feeding process, this food material which is produced by producers, that is green plants, that mainly contains carbohydrates. That mainly contains carbohydrates, fats, proteins, that is amino acids. Fat, protein, amino acids. But producers, that is green plants, they produce their own food material, and that food material mainly contains carbohydrates. They mainly contains carbohydrates. Similarly, lesser concentration of fat and protein. They are rich in carbohydrate content. Carbohydrate content in food material is more, and it is the main source of energy. It is main source of energy. Carbohydrates, that is sugars in the food material. These carbohydrates provides energy. Energy is a capacity to do work. It is a chemical energy. Food is a chemical energy. Radiant energy is converted into chemical energy. That is commonly called as food material. It is called as food material. It is main source of energy. For example, carbohydrates in the foodstuffs. Carbohydrates in the foodstuffs. Carbohydrates are main source of energy. Energy is supplied. When herbivorous animals feed on producers, for example grass, from body of producers, energy is transferred in the body of herbivores. Energy is transferred in the body of herbivores. When herbivorous animals are eaten by predators, again energy is transferred into body of carnivorous animals. That is, energy is transferred from one trophic level to another trophic level. Energy is transferred from one trophic level to another trophic level. And that transfer of energy is stated or shown by different models. For example, Y-shaped energy flow model. Y-shaped energy flow model, or it is also called as two-channel energy flow model. During transfer of energy, a large amount of energy is lost. Energy is lost. large amount of energy is lost. There is a loss of energy during transfer. That is from trophic first producers. When it passes in the body of herbivores, there is a decrease in amount of energy. That is in, for example, second trophic level. When from second trophic level it transfers into third trophic level, that is carnivores. Then again there is reduction in amount of energy. Energy is constantly decreased and very less amount of energy that reaches in the body of top carnivores. Very less amount of energy that reaches in the body of top carnivores. Top carnivores, for example, lion, tiger, they are not eaten by any other animal. They are not eaten by any other animals. Top carnivores are not eaten by any other organism, that is animal. For example, in case of single or first energy flow model, according to Odom, suppose sunlight that falls on the plant material, plant growth, commonly called as biomass. It is called as biomass. Sunlight falls on the growing plant material, commonly called as biomass, and amount of sunlight is, for example, 3000 kilocalories. Such amount of light, which is commonly called as radiant energy, that falls on the growing plant, Out of this amount of energy, about 50% energy is lost in the form of heat or respiration process of plant, for example, respiration. About 50% energy is lost. Out of 3000 kilocalories, only about 1500 kilocalories energy that reaches in the body of producers, and out of this 1500 kilocalories, only 1%, that is 15 kilocalories energy is converted in a food material by producers. Only about 15% kilocalories energy is converted or utilized. It is converted as a chemical energy, that is food material. That is, there is a constant decrease or reduction in the amount of energy, constant decrease in amount of energy. Initially from 3000 kilocalories, that decreases at about 1500 kilocalories. And out of this amount, only 15 kilocalories energy is converted into food material, that is chemical energy. In first trophic level, that is producers. And it is called as net primary production. This one amount of energy It is called as net primary production. And when amount of that energy passes into next trophic level, that is in the body of herbivores and carnivores. In the body of herbivores and carnivores, it is again reduced. Amount of energy is reduced. For example, in case of herbivores, amount of energy that reaches is only about 1.5 kilocalories. And at last, in the body of top carnivores, the amount of energy that reaches is only about 0.3 kilocalories in the body of top carnivores. It is only about 0.3 kilocalories in the body of carnivores. That is, there is a gradual or successive decrease in a amount of energy that is transferred from one trophic level to second trophic level, from second trophic level to third trophic level, and that is explained with the help of different energy flow models. Simple energy flow model, second Y-shaped energy flow model. Y-shaped energy flow model. This model is generally used to explain the energy flow in two types of food chains, that is grazing food chain and detritus food chain. Grazing food chain and detritus food chain. Grazing food chain is simple food chain. For example, in grassland, grass is producer. Herbivorous animals, for example cattle, they feed on grass. They are called as grazers. And such grazing animals, that is herbivorous animals, cattle, sheep, goat, deer, rabbit, etc. They are eaten by carnivorous animals. And that kind of food chain is called as grazing food chain. Grazing food chain. Or for example, a crop. Many insects feed on a crop. For example, grasshopper that feeds on a crop or grass. Grasshopper is eaten by, for example, frog. Primary consumer, frog. Frog is eaten by snake. Frog is eaten by snake. For example, rat snake or cobra. And that snake, rat snake or cobra is eaten by predatory bird, hawk. It is eaten by predatory bird, hawk. It is a simple food chain which is called as grazing food chain. It is called as grazing food chain. And detritus food chain, it starts from dead organic matter. It starts from dead organic matter. That is a dead body of plant or animal. Dead body of plant and animal. When there is a death of plant or animal, some organisms feed upon such dead body. They are commonly called as microbes. They are called as microbes. For example, bacteria, fungi. For example, bacteria, fungi, pathogenic organisms. They feed on dead body. These microbes are eaten by another organisms, that is animals. and these animals are called as detritivores. Detritivores. For example, crab in aquatic ecosystem, nematodes, bivalve molluscans, they are called as detritivore animals. Here energy flows from dead organic matter of dead animals into body of microbes, and from microbes that is transferred into body of detritivores, detritus consumers. And finally energy is lost. Nutrients from the body of detritivores, they are released in the soil. And these nutrients are again used by producers for synthesis of their own food material. The Y-shaped energy flow model is generally used to explain structure and function of every ecosystem or all ecosystems. Every ecosystem. It is similar to first model, simple model, but it is combined model that includes two models, two food chains, grazing food chain and detritus food chain. Suppose this one is a biomass, that is a green plant. Green plants, biomass or producers, biomass or producer. It receives or traps sunlight. It receives sunlight. The growing plants are plants, commonly called as biomass. It is also called as biomass. It may be vegetation, trees, foliage, or shrubs. They are commonly called as biomass, that is producers. Producers trap or absorb sunlight energy, that is radiant energy. They absorb radiant energy, sunlight. And that sunlight is utilized for the production of food material by the process of photosynthesis. And like first simple energy flow model, energy flows through different two food chains. It is energy transferred from the body of producers in two different types of grazing food chains, that is grazing food chain and detritus food chain. This one is a grazing food chain. Grazing food chain. And this one is detritus food chain. grazing food chain and detritus food chain. These food chains are separate or isolated from each other. They are separate or isolated from each other. Here, this one box that indicates herbivores. This one indicates carnivores. Carnivores. That is energy that passes or transferred in the body of herbivores. In the body of here herbivores. From the body of herbivores, when herbivores are eaten by carnivores, the energy is transferred into body of carnivores. It is a transfer of energy in a grazing food chain. Transfer of energy in a grazing food chain. Producers produce energy. That energy is transferred in the body of herbivores when they feed upon grass or plants. When carnivores feed on herbivores, energy is transferred in the body of carnivores. And that kind of transfer of energy is called as grazing food chain. And there is another food chain, that is a detritus food chain. Here, this one box indicates detritus consumers. And this one box indicates predators. Predators, that is detritivores. Detritivores. These are two separate food chains. These are two separate food chains. Grazing food chain and detritus food chain. They are separate food chains or isolated food chains. But these two different food chains are interconnected in a transfer of energy. In transfer of energy. But a very little or less amount of energy is transferred from, for example, herbivores to detritivores, or from detritus consumers into body of carnivorous animals. Very less amount is transferred. There are main 3 points of that energy flow model. It is a generalized model of energy flow. It includes 3 main points. First one, that reforms producers, consumers, producers, herbivores and carnivores. It confirms stratified structure of ecosystem. Stratified structure of ecosystem. It confirms stratified structure of ecosystem. And third point is it distinguishes microorganisms and macroorganisms. For example, in case of detritus food material, microorganisms, for example, bacteria, fungi, and detritivore animals, they differ in size metabolism relation, that is body size and different metabolic activities. They differ in size and metabolic relationships. These are 3 important facts of Y-shaped energy flow model.